weekend, and at state PTA, somebody stopped me and asked me what my favorite oils were. And I said, I think I'd have to say lavender because same reason, you use it so many different ways. And then she said, really, you like the smell of lavender? I says, oh no, I don't like the smell at all. I just love everything it does. So for me, I don't care for the lavender, and I burn myself so often like I did yesterday, and I just able to quickly grab that lavender and I never have a problem. So just so blessed, so blessed. All right, I'm going to not introduce myself because I'm teaching tonight. And I have some really great information for you guys. It's going to be an unusual night because usually the topics that we teach on quite often are about oils. And tonight I'm going to talk about being prepared, and I'm going to intersperse some oils being prepared. If I hadn't been prepared when my grandson broke his arm and I didn't have lavender on me, we would have survived. We would have done just fine, but it aided us in calming and in handling that situation. To me, that's the blessing of the oils. They're so easy to have on hand. And I don't have my little 8-pack with me, but you guys have seen those little keychains. They hold 8 drams. I keep my basics with me at all times. And I was able to just whip it out and have it when I need it. Now, I do have the problem that I also give them away very frequently because I have them with me. And so I'm often going, oh, you need this. And then I forget to replenish in my own little, it says my internet connection is unstable. I've been having problems all day. So I'm going to hope that I don't have problems. And Lee, if I have problems, I'm going to let you just take over and have a discussion. Okay. All right, Leah, we're glad you're here. Thanks for joining in. So some of the reasons we need to be prepared. You guys, most of you are from Texas. Some of you are not from Texas, but we have had the most unusual time lately. I was thinking about the ice storm we've had. Coronavirus, of course, has created a lot of nuttiness for us. We also had the ice storm lasted a whole week, but I think we had another time where we just had hail or something just recently too. Just feels like the weather's really unusual. You could have a loss of job that would need you to be prepared to handle things. When Joe and I went to Cancun, we were hit by 2 hurricanes in the week that Joe and I were in Cancun, but I felt very, very prepared for things. I felt very, okay, we got some water bottles, we got some snacks, we'll survive for a while, and when you're prepared, then you don't have to fear or worry as much. And when I was thinking about what to share with you tonight, I thought about the coronavirus starting a year ago, March. And Joe and I had traveled to Arizona to go to a doTERRA leadership conference. And we'd gotten there a couple of days early so we could spend time with my son and family that lives there. And then they were going to go on their spring break vacation, and we were going to go to the leadership conference. And a day and a half before the conference, they said, sorry, no conference. We're not holding the conference. And I was like, what do you mean you're not holding the conference? We're already here. And it was so sad because we couldn't get our airplane ticket changed. The hotel wouldn't reimburse us our money. So Joe and I stayed in a hotel for 3 days doing nothing. And because we didn't have a conference to go to, but we were going to pay for it anyway. And we still had to wait for our flight to go home. Anyway, all during those 3 days, we were getting news of there's a toilet paper run and there's no more toilet paper and the stores are empty and there's no more water and all these things were happening. But because Joe and I happen to be people that like to be prepared for things that happen in life, we already keep on hand extra water. We already keep on hand extra food. We already keep on hand extra toilet paper. And I just sat there going, no, we're good. No, we got what we need. No, we're good. And we went home and we didn't need anything. We didn't need to run out and get anything. So as I talk about being prepared, I want you to know some of it sounds, golly, Shaleen, you're a little bit crazy with all the things you have on hand. What do you think? It's the end of the world? No, don't think it's the end of the world. I just like to be prepared because we never know what's around the corner. So I'm going to suggest some things to you, and you might take it, you might not, but I'm going to suggest some things to you that Joe and I do to be prepared. Okay, what's the one thing we can't live without for very long?
Water.
Water, 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 water. We can live without food for a while, but we can't live without water for very long. And so I would suggest you get some water storage, even if you just buy some extra, gallons of water at the store and just have it on a shelf somewhere. I like to gather rainwater. I like to have water in a big barrel in our garage. We have a big, I guess it's 30-gallon barrel that we keep water in. It's really nice to have that. I always know if something happens that we have some water that we could use. So it's important to keep water. It's important to have some food on hand. And some people think we're a little strange with our food storage, but I wonder how many of you have food storage? How many of you keep on hand just a little bit? Few of you? Linda, you don't have any food storage?
Hardly any. I don't like to have, I live 8/10 of a mile from HEB, and no, I do not
Okay.
like to have a big bunch of stuff in my pantry.
Okay,
I'm sorry, I'm unusual in that.
okay. So
I do.
I don't necessarily think it's the best thing.
Okay, so when you saw that the HEB was emptying out when these things happened in the last year, did you worry?
No, because I thought I could lose a little weight.
Okay, that's good.
And that is no joke.
Okay, that's good.
My freezer had stuff in it. My freezer's full, and honestly, but anyway, as I said, that's a pretty odd thing I do.
But
I
that's
just don't
preparation.
like
Your freezer is preparation. That's fantastic.
Yeah, yeah.
You have
So
stuff.
it was plenty of inventory for us. We
There you
never
go.
ran out. We never got out of anything.
That's awesome. That is awesome. I was going to mention the freezer because I love to freeze your food cook and I love to put meals away for another time. And that's a great way to be prepared and to have
Yeah.
things on hand. So love it. What about first aid? Have you guys got a few things on hand if you needed it? I think it's interesting that even just Band-Aids or bandages, my Correct X kind of takes place of my Neosporin that I used to stock up on. I used to use Bactine. Any of you that were old like me, little spray would make it hurt for a minute, but then it would kind of dissipate. Do you remember that, Bactine? Oh man, good days. I think I had 3 or 4.
Peppermint spray works really well.
It does, yes, peppermint spray and Correct X. So the oils are a lot of answers for me now that weren't before. So
And
yeah.
I think a lot of us, yes, helichrysum. A lot of us used to do wipes of some kind,
Yes.
alcohol preps or something in case there's some kind of an emergency. I mean, I've always had first aid in the car and in the house everywhere that it could be. So now I use the On Guard wipes.
Which is
Those-
great to have.
Those work really well, as does the On Guard, the sanitizing spray.
Yeah.
Having that on hand, and that's really good too. If somebody gets a scrape or a bump and you want to clean it off, that sanitizing spray works really well for that.
That is a great idea.
good thing to have.
Sanitizing spray. And you think of the numbers of times children, get those bump knees and stuff like that. On Guard all the way. Okay, when my kids were little, we did some contingency plans. And again, this might sound a little extreme, but we had a bunch of kids and I was always worried. We're going to have a fire. We won't know where to go, what to do. And I got to teach the kids how to, get low and get out of the house. So one night at a family meeting, we practiced what would we do if this happened? And what would we do if this happened? And, a tornado or a hurricane or a fire. And we actually went out of the house and stood at the neighbor's tree across the street and said, this is our meeting place. This is where we're going to go if something happens. That's part of being prepared. Just having in your mind, if something were to happen, what would you do? And so contingency plans for unusual experiences is always a good way to get prepared. 72-hour kits. So 72-hour kits is something that if you had to survive, like Linda was saying, they did just fine for a few days, but if you had to survive, like what if you had to leave your house and you didn't have anything in your house? And so Joe and I started with 72-hour kits when our kids were young. This is kind of unusual. We bought a brand new garbage can. We used old backpacks because we filled up the backpacks full of 3 days worth of food for our family, an extra pair of clothes, some money in small bills, flashlights, a radio, golly, the list is long, but it's that kind of thing that we'd put into individual backpacks. If we had to go on foot somewhere, we could each wear a backpack. If we got to go in the car, the backpacks are all kept in this garbage can. We put the garbage can in the car and go if we had to in a hurry. So again, it sounds like, oh my word, Shaleen, weren't you just thinking everything's going to fall apart around the corner? I really don't think that, but I can tell you the peace that comes when you are ready for anything to happen. Don't have
Shaleen?
to. Yeah.
When I lived in San Diego, the fires hopped over into the neighborhoods, and some of the people had less than a couple of hours to get out of their house. And so they were very grateful for their bug out bags or 72-hour kits, whatever they're called. And one of the ladies even went around and shared how to copy the really important insurance papers, your house documents, all the really important documents, so that when they're gone, you at least have a second place to have them, maybe at a different family's house, or maybe even in your 72-hour kit, but it's hard to put more stuff in there.
It is. But we've got a firebox that I keep a lot of those important papers in. And so if we were to have a fire, hopefully that would still survive it. And certificates and immunization forms and a lot of things that I wouldn't want to
I
lose.
have everything scanned into the computer now too and saved on the cloud.
That
So-
is a very good idea. That is very good.
That way, you may not be able to grab your computer and take it with you, but if you've got it on the cloud,
Wow.
then you can, once the power comes back on, you can get a hold of
Or you-
those things, especially if you need your insurance papers or stuff like that.
Or you could put it on a drive and grab the drive.
Right,
They're
on a
pretty
thumb
small.
drive and grab the drive, absolutely.
Yeah.
I did that for a while too.
Not sure I would have ever thought of that. I think that is brilliant. Brilliant. Okay, so I want to talk just a little bit more about food storage. If you were to keep some food on hand, and I've always been a food storage person, I would just suggest you store what you use. I've gotten in the habit a little bit of, oh my goodness, I see this great deal on number 10 cans of weird things. That's so good to have in my food storage, but it's not something I use on a regular basis. And so then it ends up sitting there, and I've had oil go bad. I've had oats go bad. It's just really sad when food goes bad and it's wasted. So I would suggest that you store things that you use and rotate them. And so that's what I've really gotten good at. I know the things we use, and I can buy them and use the oldest one first so that I'm rotating them as we go along. So I would suggest that to you. However, there are a few things, because I grind my own wheat and make my own bread. I know that sounds kind of old fashioned, but I love to do that. I store.
And yummy.
It is yummy. But I store wheat, and that's something that just doesn't go bad. I mean, I don't know enough about history, but I've heard it's in like the Egyptian pyramids and stuff, wheat just lasts. And it's just really good thing to have on hand because you can do a lot of things with it. So store what you eat and eat what you store. Also good to have some sundry items on hand. Ooh, that just reminds me, I know we're out of toothpaste. I use the On Guard toothpaste, but Joe prefers regular, so I need to get regular for him. And I usually have a lot of toothpaste on hand. It was something with my family before I was in doTERRA. I would just always have 10 tubes of toothpaste because it's like we were going through toothpaste like you wouldn't believe it. And I hate to run out of things like that. You just don't want to come. It's time to brush your teeth, and sorry, we're out of last tube of toothpaste. So those kinds of things, sundry items, monthly women's items, things like that. I just was always really good at being a couple of months ahead of having what we needed. It's just good to have those things on hand, soap and toilet paper and those kinds of things. And then I was going to mention my freezer food cooking, Linda. So thank you. Store your food in your freezer. It's always a good idea. So someone said to me once, Shaleen, well, so you've got all that food in your freezer, but what if we had a power outage? So what would I do if we had a power outage?
Don't open the door.
Don't open the door.
Put it in your
Leave.
cooler.
Huh? What?
Put it in your cooler. Don't you have a
Could put
cooler?
it in the cooler. Yep. Joe and I bought a generator. And we keep a little bit of gas on hand. And if we had to, he could run the generator and he would be able to keep things cool for a while. So, and we've actually loaned it to people a few times in,
Bear in mind
yeah,
that generators do not run air conditioners
yeah,
or heaters.
yep. They're just for emergency
They're just for,
things.
you know, your refrigerator will run off of it.
Yeah.
The lights will run off of it. But you're,
Yeah.
you know, and you could probably run a TV, but who wants a TV when you're, unless you need to get the news other than with the radio.
True, true. Okay, so now I'm going to switch over and talk a little bit about emotional support. We all go through things in life, and we've talked a lot about, you know, big, maybe horrendous things that happen in life that we need to be prepared for, but just small things that happen that we need to calm our anxiety or just to be able to have some help as we go through difficult things. And that's where our oils come in to help us be prepared. Of course, we can use oils to just calm us down. I was teaching at State PTA this last week. I love to teach. I love to share things that I've learned. And the first 2 classes went okay. And I was thinking, golly, am I going to do this again? This is my 10th year teaching here. And then I taught the 3rd class, and it was so full of people, a couple hundred people. It was so fun to teach. And I start teaching things. I don't even get nervous anymore, but I'm putting my oils on before I start. And I love to use rose, and it just brings me peace and calms me down. If we can all find an oil that will do that for us, just bring us peace and calm and help us move forward, no matter what it is good for us. It's good for our mental state to have something we can turn to. Our olfactory system will remember that. It will bring calmness to you if you find the oil that will bring you the most calmness. But breathing techniques are really important too. And I wanted to show you the starfish breathing technique. I've started using this with my grands a lot, but I find that I need to do it too. So it just means taking a deep breath and letting it out. Taking a deep breath, letting it out. And doing that 5 times over and moving your finger very slow. Children are actually really good at that. And they get really, you know, they get into, whoa, what are you doing? And I can do that. And they move the finger around. Take a deep breath, let it out. And that brings such a peace to me, helps me sleep, helps me calm down. When I'm frustrated, I can do it to help me calm down. Of course, meditation and music helps too. And when we talk about oils, I would love to know, because I think most people are either flowery loving oils or citrusy loving oils. I kind of in my head have everybody in one of those camps. I'm curious, how many of you think you are flowery loving people? Anybody? Okay, Mara, maybe. And how many are citrusy loving people? Okay. And Lee, neither one? Really?
No, I'm actually,
Woods.
I'm more of a citrusy.
Okay, you're more citrusy. All right.
So I like copaiba and frankincense.
Yeah, so there's another avenue to say copay. Okay, more woodsy. Okay, interesting. I gotta start
Sandalwood.
doing that. Yep. Well, find the oil that brings you peace and use it, because it's going to help you. So, yep, Leah, you and I, we're citrusy people. I just find a lot of people that like citrus don't like the flowery smells, and vice versa. So, kind of interesting. But it can release a lot of negativity and empower you to move on. So, cool. All right. Couple things about your car. Lee, you said something about in your car you keep things. What do you keep in your car?
Well, I just have an emergency first aid kit in there. So, you know, it's got bandages, it's got peroxide still. It's got, I always have the wipes in there, the On Guard wipes. I have Digest-Zen soft gels. I have Melaleuca or tea tree, as we now call it. I carry an extra On Guard sanitizer spray. So just some things. So somebody gets a bump or a bruise, of course, flashlight, that kind of thing that's in. And during tornado season, when we get into that late February, early March, my 72-hour kit goes into my car so that I don't have to worry about grabbing it. It's already out there. It's got dog food in it along with my medications and all the
That
stuff.
is really smart. And then you can leave it in the car because you don't have to eat. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And then we just, yeah. Then if I have to take off, I just take off, which of course we don't want to be driving when there's a tornado either. But if we have time to get out and go somewhere, then I know that that bag is there and I'm ready.
I think that's really smart. And to help you be feeling peaceful, because you don't know what's going to be around the corner, but you can calmly, be ready to handle any situation. So I'm curious what you guys do when you pass somebody on the road that is wanting you to roll down your window and hand them money.
I give them water.
Water's good. I like to keep granola bars on hand. That's something I like to keep in my car because I'm like, hey,
little bag with a granola bar, water, cheese and crackers, something like that. It's a little bit of food and a little bit of water for them.
For me, that's being prepared. For me, that's being like, oh, I'm so glad I thought to put that in here because now I feel like I can give them something and
maybe a pair of socks if I'm really thinking about it. Some socks in there.
And I've actually put in socks in a sock inside a sock and put a few sundry items and stuff in it so that I could just hand something like that to them. So just another way to be prepared to help those in need. All right, we're going to talk about emergencies a little bit, where and when to have the oils. Now, Lee gave you lots of suggestions at the last class, and I want you to know that there is a YouTube page that I am putting all of the classes on. And what I would love to do is just put that YouTube link in the chat. And then for anybody that likes to watch the classes, you can always go here because I'm always going to have all of the classes on this YouTube page. So I'm pasting the link in there right now. And if you want to go to that link and then favorite that link or subscribe to my YouTube page, I guess, you would always know where to go to get all these classes. Isn't that a great idea? So I want you, Lee, when you taught the class, do you think, and I missed it, and I'm sorry I haven't had a chance to watch the recording of it yet. I keep past tense on hand because when I have head tension, I have to just put that on as it's coming on. So for me, to emergency of being prepared is to have this right next to me, and I keep it right here, and I have all my basics. And I have my past tense for my head tension. I have my digestion to handle stomach issues. Because I ate some protein bars yesterday that gave me so much gas it drove me nuts. But digestion, just like that, it was gone. I love that stuff. Frankincense, motivate, breathe, cheer. As you can tell, I got a lot of citrusy things here. On guard, lavender, all allergy, adaptive, and oregano. And lavender, of course, my absolute favorite. So to me, that's being prepared. I have any emergency covered and I don't have to go downstairs and get my oils. They're right here. Well, my office is in my bedroom right now while I have others living with me. So, but I have things handy. I have deep blue in my closet because I need that all the time. And I travel with that too. I keep it, like Rhonda said she did, all the time with me. And I also keep Correct X all the time. Lavender has to be handy for burns, adaptive for calming, and breathe for colds and congestion. What I probably haven't mentioned something. Is there something that you would always have with you for an emergency?
Tea tree. I always have tea tree because when I first started doing oils, I read a story by somebody somebody told a story about having having just their little keychain with them that they had given it to their kids and their kids went on a vacation. And I don't even remember what happened, but something happened and they looked in that little kit and sure enough, there was melaleuca and that's what they needed for their child. So I never leave without having melaleuca. And I too I have a keychain, and I'm like you.
Give them away.
Give them away, and then I get home and forget to put another one in there, especially Breathe. I give a lot of Breathe away.
I do too.
So I carry that. I have this wonderful little clutch that we were able to get a few years ago that holds all roll-ons. It holds 6 roll-ons. So I have my 6 top roll-ons in there. And then I don't leave home without In Tune and Past Tense and Clary Calm usually, because if I'm going someplace where there's traffic, that's what I use to calm me down in traffic, is Clary Calm. I'll just roll it on my wrists and sit in the traffic and smell my wrists, and then I'm not angry with everybody for being so silly and cutting in front of me and zooming around me and stuff.
Now, isn't that interesting? Your list was so different than mine, but everything was so needed. It brings you that peace and preparation. Anyone else want to share some things that they like to keep on hand?
I always have a small Serenity, the Just Zen, peppermint beadlets. I have the On Guard sanitizing spray. And I keep those with me at all times. If I'm out, the first thing that helps me if my stomach starts to bother me is the peppermint. And by having the beadlets, when they break, not only do I get them in me, I can breathe them, so I get the aroma at the same time.
That is awesome, Dale.
And I carry the Serenity also because a couple of my one of my grandchildren, 2 of my grandchildren have ADHD, and if they get in a spot, then the Serenity comes out and then we get them calmed down. I took one, for example, I took my granddaughter to church Sunday. She hadn't been for a while and was communion. She wanted to go. She's 15. And she hadn't been under a mask for a while. And she had a little anxiety attack. And so I immediately had the Serenity there and put it on her wrists. And then she also stepped out of the area back to go with the middle schoolers. Although she's in high school, she's just out of that group. So she went and sat with them for a little bit, and then she came back in for the communion. So
Nice.
it was great. I always loved it, and she knows I have it. And if she needs to ask me for it. And one of my grandsons, he's 20 now, and he finished up high school in regular mode, not separate. But he has Asperger's, and so his key word is orange. And if he says orange, that means he needs to go someplace calm and he needs to get regrouped. So
Dale, you've been able
helps.
to have on hand the oils that help you, that help your grandchildren, and your list was different from Lee's and different than mine.
Mhm.
That's what I really want to encourage everybody to do. That's why we have this class. I want you to sit down and go, just give yourself a few minutes. What is the list I need? What are the oils I need to have on hand for every person that I'm in contact with for a long time? You want to be there for them and have those things for them. Thank you so much for that. And I noticed that Laura even said your sample cases with dram vials, use them both as samples and as backups for you. That is the thing that we have all said, awesome. Laura. That was awesome. Lee, the Serenity linen spray is really good to spray in a child's mask to keep them calm. Dale, that might be something you want to think about. And then Lee also said on here, as my kids have left home, have I done contingency plans? And I have not. Joe and I have no contingency plans. We need to work on it for just ourselves and not just when you have little kids. So,
well, I also think about as adult kids, if there was something really major to happen, I want my adult kids and their kids, I want us all to know where we are. When Katrina hit, my son is, he's my son by my first husband, and he's still in touch with that dad. We're still in touch with him, and he was always in touch with their family. Well, he had a great aunt who lived in New Orleans. And when Katrina hit, nobody could find her. all the phone lines were down, the cell phone towers were down. Nobody could get a hold of her. Well, she was safe. She had gone northeast and gotten away, but she had no way to get in touch with anybody. And
Yeah.
that had always been her plan. If something happened, she was going northeast. She didn't tell anybody.
Interesting. So just having a plan of where you would go if something, that is really
Yeah.
important.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
just let your adult kids know
Yeah.
that's where I'll be. So they're not going to be worried about you while they're trying to take care of their families.
Yep. I love it. You guys have given so many good ideas here. I really, really appreciate it. We've got so much knowledge here from all of you. Melody says a nostril inhaler with lemon and vetiver for my mold allergy. That's fantastic. You wouldn't want to live without that, especially if we had some flooding and mold stuff going on. Just so many wonderful tips and possibilities. But I just wanted to share messages of being prepared, not because I know you're